Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. We'll just wait for everyone to join us and then we'll get started. So our webinar today is all about Key Stage 1 SATs and how you can use MathShed in the preparation of that. Okay, right, we'll get started. We're going to record this webinar and it will be available on YouTube from tomorrow on our EdShed YouTube channel, but I will make sure I email out the link so you can pass it on to any colleagues that can't watch it. So Alex and myself will be both on the webinar today and both talking. We will also be answering your questions as we go through. So Alex mainly will be answering any questions. So at the bottom here, the Q&A icon, if you click that, and whilst I'm going through different things, if you've got any questions, if you just write them in there and we'll answer them as we go along. So what I'll do first of all is I will share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, so this is our webinar for today. So we're using MathShed for engaging and effective Year 2 SATs preparation.
Okay, so the webinar was inspired by the fact that we put on a Year 6 SATs prep webinar a couple of weeks ago, and when we had it posted on like our emails and different social media pages, what have you, people were asking us to do a Key Stage 1 SATs prep webinar, and it led us to realize that lots of people do the Year 6 SAT support thing, but there's a lot less out there for the Year 2 SATs. So it meant that I had a few more things to do to pull together some data, but here it is. So reviewing the past papers from 2017, 2018 and 2019, where we have more national data, as it shows, conversely to the Year 6 SATs, where most of the marks come from Years 3, 4 and 5, in Year 2, the bulk of the marks come from Year 2 content. So Year 1 content is less than 20% of marks. So it really goes to show that the Year 2 SATs is all about recent learning. So it's really key to kind of have what the kids have been learning in Year 2 very much front of mind and keeping that new content for that year fresh for them in their learning.
Okay.
And equally, there's kind of a difference here with the Key Stage 2 SATs. You find that if kids do really well on their arithmetic paper, they're a lot closer to meeting the national standard than in Key Stage 1. So Key Stage 1 is more holistic, as one might hope and expect, that you really need to score well both in the arithmetic element on the first paper, but then also pick up a fair number of points, you know, on other areas of the curriculum, and having children do that sort of early reasoning and problem solving. So that is the case, but at the same time, as we'll find out later in the webinar, that a lot of the reasoning and problem solving that the children do is applied fluency to some extent, and that requires them being competent in their arithmetic fluency. So although the paper only makes up that sort of blue portion in the bar chart there towards meeting the pass mark for the average national standard, it still requires scoring well on paper 2, but a lot of the skills that require doing well on paper 1 will lend themselves to doing well on paper 2 as well. So next slide, please. Right, so here, I guess following on from the point I was making on the last slide, if we look at the breakdown of the sorts of areas that it would make sense to prioritize in terms of having children do well on the SATs, and clearly the areas that the Standards and Testing Authority, part of the DFE, value highest are things like number and place value, and for operations, so addition, subtraction, and then times tables knowledge applying of 2, 5, and 10, applying that to multiplication and division. That said, of course, we know that spatial reasoning and having knowledge of properties of shape and using shape as part of support for things like arrays, using circular counters for arrays, for multiplication division, or using them in other types of shapes, be it counters, multi-link cubes, also applying that sort of early concept of volume and those sorts of things to number. Like, so it doesn't mean that we should discount that work that's done with spatial reasoning, early years, and lots of shape work, because I don't want to be cancelled by the early years crew, because I'm aware that all of the research points to that being very key area of learning in early years and at Key Stage 1. However, it then needs to lead into competency when it comes to children having concepts of number properties, place value, and then applying that mostly for operations. And then it's nice to have children have a solid foundation and a bedrock in their fractions, measurement, properties of shape, position and direction, and statistics knowledge to set them up for Key Stage 2. But again, the chart doesn't lie, it suggests that really the core areas of learning when you switch from early years into Key Stage 1 learning, and particularly that year 2 content that is so important, it's all about number, place value, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
Okay, thanks, Alex. What I'll do now is show you some different parts within MathShed that can help you prepare for that. So as Alex just said, we've got 3 really core areas. We've got number and place value, and then the different functions, including our multiplication facts. So within MathShed, we've followed the White Rose curriculum, and that's the order that our lessons are in. And for each lesson, we have a PowerPoint, sort of a teaching PowerPoint that you can adapt as you wish. We have a quiz that you can set to the children, which I'll go through in a moment. And we've also got something called a lesson. And this is sort of a playlist, basically, of different media episodes. A lot of them are myself explaining the activity or explaining the skill in that particular lesson, and then followed by quiz questions that the children can answer from that after the explainer video. So you can use these really easily as sort of consolidation or intervention lessons. So what I'll do is I'll click on our number and place value one, because it's free. So if after today you'd like to sign up for a free trial, which you can, and it will end instantly after 30 days if you're a school or teacher. So these are what the lessons look like. So as I said before, they're a playlist. You have to start at the beginning. You can't randomly click and skip levels. That's also really good. So if I just click start, this is what the pupils will see for a lesson. Okay, so it starts with the success criteria. And then it will have an explainer video about the starter.
Hello, and today we're going to learn how to count objects to 100. For this starter, which one doesn't belong here?
So it goes through the same structure each time. So we start with a starter, and I explain a bit about that, and then we'll go on to our next part of the lesson, which is our activity 1 explainer video. Oh, I think it might be because I've completed it. Hang on. There we go.
Next, we need to count and write the number of boats in the dock. So we've got some with a number above, and
so this will be very similar to what the children will be doing for their next activity. So it will be a short explainer video and we'll go through that and go through the answers. And then it comes to the actual activity that the children are going to complete independently. So it's up to you how you want to do that. They can upload an image, or you can print these out if you're doing them in school as well. And then it comes to another explainer video and then part of a quiz. So our explainer video is on. There we go. We've got lots of visual different representations.
What numbers is shown below? How can we write each in numerals and then in words?
So it goes through that, and then our next part will be a quiz. So after we've watched that, then we've got a bit more of an idea and we're starting to practice the skill. We can also read these out if you need them.
What number is being shown below in numbers and in words? Select answers below: 33, 11, 33, 11, 22, and 22.
And then you get instant feedback to see whether you got them right, what the correct answer was, and so on. So you can see that that is practicing the exact skill that we have just looked at. And here are links to the exact ones covering those areas that Alex was mentioning are so important and so crucial to know and to get the children at the expected level in year 2. Now we've also got something called quick maths, and we have these for all years from year 6 up to from year 1 up to year 6. Now they're daily arithmetic fluency slides, and they also have the answers on there as well. Now all of the year 2 quick maths weeks in spring and summer terms in the run up to SATs are all based on past papers. So this is what they look like. So you can just have them on the whiteboard. And you can see here how they are based on past papers. If I click here, we can have a look at a free example that you can then download. So we've got them for every single week of the whole school year for every year group. And anything with this free next to it is something that you can access should you wish to take out a free trial. So let's download this one. And I always think these are really great to do every day and at the same time every day, so they become a habit, whether that's straight after registration or after assembly or after a break time. So this is what they look like. And they sort of start off, that's week 1, day 1. And obviously you've got the answers on there should you wish for the children to self-mark or peer mark. And then they slowly get slightly trickier and cover more topics as the week goes on. You can see there's a fraction as well in there. So these are really great, and from my experience, really, really crucial in those children having that quick recall and really the solid foundation of fluency skills for arithmetic. So this is what we were just chatting about. So children, it's really great to do at the same time every single day, whether you want them on scrap paper, whiteboards, or I used to have them in small little sort of notebooks. There we go. And then they're just something that they can get used to and constantly use that quick recall of those key arithmetic skills. We also have self-marking past paper quizzes. So this is what ours look like. So you can see how from previous questions, SATs papers, we've based ours, and how ours, although they look slightly different, they are the same sort of question types. So we've got lots of practice paper 1 question sets, and you can set these as quizzes for pupils to complete if they access via their login, or you can also download them as PDF and have them completed on paper if also needed. So I'll show you what they look like. There we go. So this is what our quiz, here we are, looks like from our paper 1. And you can, if I scroll down, I can have a look at all the different questions I've got there. I can generate the worksheet so that it becomes a PDF and we can print that out. I can assign it to pupils, so I can set it to them. So maybe you want to set it as homework or something in class that you're practicing. This is what the quiz will look like from a pupil's point of view. So if we click play quiz and start game. And again, you've got the option for it to be read out if you want to. So you can see they're all very similar. If it's a touch device, you can touch the calculator, or you can also use the numbers on the keyboard. And what that will do then is you can see it's being self-marked, and you as the teacher will be able to see the percentage that your pupils have got correct. And then you can also look in the pupil profile and be able to see exactly the questions that they got right or wrong, so that you can go then and revisit those areas should you need to. The other things we have that are similar to this are our fluency games. So if you identify weaknesses with times tables, for example, we've also got them for number bonds and mental addition and subtraction. This is where you can find them, and these have just got lots and lots of questions all on these topics. So what you can do is set them the corresponding lesson, which we just looked at with the media episodes, or the quiz as well. But if there are lots of gaps, maybe refer back to the prioritised list of objectives that we covered based on the historical allocation of SATs papers, which Alex looked at right at the beginning. And then we also have similar for paper 2 as well. So I know these have got more reasoning within them. But again, they self-mark, and you can have a look with our curriculum competency reporting dashboard, which I'll show you at the end. So let's click on what a paper 2 would look like. Click play quiz. And then it will show us some of our paper 2 reasoning questions. So what I'll do is I'll just click through these so you don't need to see them all. So you can see the pictorial representations that go with the questions here and the different types of multiple choice answers, for instance. Okay, so again, you can see that they're based on previous paper questions. So again, if you find that particular questions that children struggle with, you can set them the corresponding lesson or quiz. Like paper 1, if there are many gaps, you can refer back to the prioritised list of objectives that we looked at before. And these are the direct links to that. And we can send these out, because I know that we did that for our Key Stage 2 SATs webinar. We can send this presentation out for you, so you've got those exact links.
I'm going to be launching a blog post, or posting a blog post, whatever the right word is for blog posts, that has all of this in it. And then we'll also have all of the presentations, and Karis's video as well that we're doing right now will also be a part of that blog. So that'll be there for reference or to send to colleagues too.
Oh, great. So it'll be in one place. That's great. So I know that with Year 2 SATs, you also need to collate evidence as well, of sort of independent maths work. So I've just sort of jotted down a few different ways that you could use MathShed to do this. So personally, when I did Year 2 SATs, although it was a couple of years ago, I used to use the quick math slides as a way for the children to independently apply their previous learning. So they used to have small maths books, which we used to call iMaths, so independent maths. And this was separate to sort of classwork. So after assembly, the children used to sit down, and I used to put it on the interactive whiteboard, and the teaching assistant used to go around and sort of monitor those whilst I had a group on the carpet, and then we'd kind of swap. And then what's also really good about our slides is they've also got the answers as well. So then what I used to do is put the answers on, and we used to sort of self-mark, and I used to sort of flick through and have a wander around at how the children did. So that's a really good way for them to just constantly recall previous knowledge independently. We've also got our end of block and term assessments. We do have these for every year group. So you can set them as a quiz, which you would obviously want to do in class to make sure they're doing it independently, or you can also print them as a PDF again, as you can with all of our SATs papers too. So you can also have got the quizzes. Now the quizzes go with each lesson and they look exactly like the quizzes that we looked at, which were based on SATs questions. What I would also say that you could use these for is if you set quizzes from topics that maybe you taught, say, about 2 weeks ago, just to see what the pupils can independently recall separate from teacher input. And again, you can view these answers on the pupil page and get from your assignment page, you can get a percentage of how the pupils have done. So that's also a really good way for after you've done all of that learning and a usual day-to-day class teaching, just to see what they can recall. The other thing you can do is you can print out our activities and plenaries, which are within our PowerPoints. And I used to always do this on just A4 sheets of stickers so that I can kind of peel them off and stick them in books. I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. I exit this one. I always think our evaluation, so sort of our plenary at the end of the lessons are really good for this because they usually have sort of like a prove it question or something similar. There we go. So you can take the PowerPoint and next to the PowerPoint, you've got the option literally just to print the activities within that PowerPoint. And it's these plenaries down here that I always think are a really good test of the children's understanding. And they can obviously reply to you in sentences, maybe in their book. And then finally, you'll be able to tell that I did all my SATs preparations without anything like seesaw or tapestry or anything. It's quite old school. What I used to just have is an A4 sheet of stickers and then just sort of eardrop on day-to-day maths lessons. So for example, I don't know, in a basic term, a child says, I know that number is 32 because it has 3 10s and 2 1s. I might jot that down quickly, write their initial on the stickers. And at the end of the day, I used to have a file with A4 paper, just with the pupil's name at the top. And I used to stick the stickers on the pupil's sort of page, or you could do it in their maths books. But also you could do that. I've also taught via Seesaw before. You might want to screenshot maybe our questions, our evaluation questions, and get the children to voice note or type underneath it. Now, finally, hopefully Alex has been answering your questions, and I'll go to any questions as well at the moment. I'll just show you what our competence grid looks like, because I did mention that before. Now, if I go to our MathShed home, okay, so our competence grid shows the coverage of the questions answered by pupils. So if I go to assessment here, and then click on a class, I'm just trying to think of one that I've played as a pupil. Okay, so then at the top, you have got different curriculum areas. We've got maths, SPAG, reading and spelling. What happens is our quizzes within MathShed are tagged with a curriculum area. So once that question is answered, it will appear here. So if I just look, I've been playing a scary spice a while ago. You can then see in year 2, all the different areas and how they've been broken down. If I click into 1, you can then see further then. So you can see here, the competence of this pupil based on their quizzes. And it takes it from the most recent 5 times that they've answered a quiz tagged with this curriculum objective, so that we know that it's consistent. It's not, say, a one-off and someone has helped them at home. So depending on how you do your quizzes, if it's for homework, obviously you've got to take everything a little bit with a pinch of salt, but it's a really good way just to see general competence and also general patterns within your class, and if there are any large areas of weakness there. This will then be an overall competence with all of these scores added up. So you can see that's really low, which is why it's red, because I've only done questions on my test account for this one area. but that's a really great way just to sort of see a quick overview. And then the only other thing I was going to show you is where to find all these resources, because I'm aware that I've just clicked on links that will take you straight to them. So if you click on this green resources button here, and then obviously on MathShed, although we have lots of other sheds as well, should you wish to have a look around. Stages are the same as year groups. So if we go for year 2, and then here is where you can find the Key Stage 1 practice area, and this has all the previous quizzes based on the questions. And then if I click into a term and then a block, you'll be able to see that for each lesson, we have a PowerPoint, which is the resources, question sets, which is the quiz, and then the lessons, which is the playlist with the videos of me on it. So for each of those, the way you set work for your pupils is through our assignments section. And we've got lots of separate videos on how to do that on our YouTube channel. Okay. So I think that is everything.